Hey guys, Two-Nine Marine here with another video for you. This week I'm going to be doing questions and answers. A few things that you guys have asked me about. Some of it I've responded to, like through the comments and stuff, or through messages. But some of those I feel like you guys that everyone should know about, because they kind of pertain to the general group of people who might be joining. The first thing, though, that I want to cover is at the question, what are living conditions like when you deploy? That will depend on two things: where you're deploying and what kind of deployment you're going on. If it's a UDP, which is Unit Deployment Program, you'll go to, living conditions will be pretty great for the most part. You're going to be either flying or going on boat, on ship to different ports, or you'll go, just to different countries that we're friends with and you do training with them. So if you're like on the West Coast, either Camp Pendleton or 29 Palms, chances are you're going to go to Japan, Okinawa, Guam, possibly China, let's see, Thailand. Not sure if they do Philippines anymore, but I know you might go down to Australia, partied up with the Aussies down there. And so, for the most part, you're going to be in barracks. You'll be sleeping in a bed most nights, except whenever you're doing training. Chances are you'll be out, sleeping in the dirt. But living conditions are pretty great. Most of the time you'll work, Monday through Friday, and have weekends off, so you can go out in town and do whatever it is you want to do. That'll depend. All that'll vary though, based off your unit and the point of why you guys are there. If your unit has a lot of people that fuck up and just get in trouble constantly, chances are they're going to punish all of you, and you'll be stuck on base or something stupid. So, hopefully that doesn't happen to you, but it happens. Combat deployments are a whole different beast. Those, the living conditions suck for the most part. If you're on some of the major bases, like in Afghanistan, they have, Camp Leatherneck, and there's a few others. I never went to Afghanistan, so I can't remember all the names. But if you're on some of the bigger ones, you're going to be sleeping in air-conditioned tents, and they have like little metal tin cans, basically they call them, that they're air-conditioned, electricity, all the whole nine. So that's pretty good. But chances are, especially if you join a combat MOS, that's not going to be the case. You're going to be out on patrol. You're going to be out shooting the howitzers. You're going to be out doing whatever it is they need you to do, and you're going to be digging in the dirt, sleeping in holes in the ground, that you and your buds dug, that you guys dug. You're going to be, or sleeping in your trucks if you guys have trucks. So you're going to hate life. You're going to be dirty. You're going to be tired, and chances are it's going to be either really hot or really cold. Very rarely is there a time when the weather's like, sunny and high 60s, low 70s. It just doesn't happen wherever Marines deploy. The UDPs, though, to go back to that a little bit, those living conditions can suck too when you're out in the field. As can just being in the field in general. I know when we were in Japan, we were shooting at the base of Mount Fuji there in mainland Japan, and it was like 29 Palms, where I was actually stationed, gets cold, especially during the winter. If you're out in the field, it gets freaking really, really cold. But Japan, they also get really cold, but it's constantly raining or snowing if you're there at the right time. And so, that was a whole nother beast. I know one night I woke up and I had been sleeping in the back of the truck, in my sleeping bag, and and I woke up just freezing cold, and I was like, I couldn't figure out what was going on because I was in my bag, and everything should have been good, but I realized that somehow rain started flying into the truck like sideways, and basically filled up my sleeping bag, and it had turned to ice in my bag with me. And I fell asleep listening to my iPod. I had one of those little iPod shuffles. That's like a little stick, almost looks like a big thumb drive. And that thing froze in the ice. And I was, what the hell's going on? And it had just gotten that cold where it rained, and then it just got really cold after it got done raining, and it just froze everything. And the good news was that my iPod shuffle still worked. So, that thing, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but that thing has been ran over by 2 7-tons. I got frozen in the water in my bag. It's been covered in mud and dirt and sand, and I left it out in a sandstorm in Iraq, and the thing still worked. And so I love that little thing. But so living in the field you're going to have times like that where you're just going to be like, what the fuck am I doing? But you'll enjoy it. It sucks, but it sucks for everybody, so you're not the only one having to deal with it. So the next question is, how can I get a guaranteed MOS? How can I, is there any way for this to happen? I want to do, say artillery, of all of them. That's a difficult one because generally recruiters have not a quota. They do have to have a certain amount of people they sign up every month, but they generally look to try to get specific MOSs. So they will generally try to drive you towards what they need. And sometimes there's just no way they can sign you up for, your goal MOS at that time. It might change down the road, but there is times when they legitimately can't. Like they just won't take anymore because the schools are already going to be really full, and you'll have to wait around for months, and they just don't want to do that. But the best thing is that I found is to just take the general. Like for me, for artillery, I signed up for just combat support. It was like the block of MOSs, which is tanks, arty, I want to say AAVs, and something else. I don't remember. Anyway, I was hoping to get tanks, honestly. I wanted to go blow shit up with the tank. But that just wasn't the case, and I ended up getting, slotted for arty, which is fine. One way that I've heard that'll really see if they're able to get you a particular MOS is if you just tell them, hey, if you can't get me, say artillery, for example, if you can't get me artillery, Staff Sergeant, then I'm going to go to the Army, and they'll sign me up, and I'm sure they can get me artillery. And especially if you're fresh out of high school, you did really well in the ASVAB, you have no criminal issues, no drug issues, no weird tattoos that they got to worry about. You're like the perfect candidate where it does no effort on their part to sign you up. Then if there's anything they can do, they'll do it. And threatening to go to the Army, or threatening to go to the Navy, or whatever it is you want to say, will make them, jump on the ball and do what they can do. Sometimes they'll just have to tell you, hey, I'm sorry, but I guess the Army is what it is for you, which will suck for them because they definitely need to get people, but life's life when it comes to that. The last piece of advice I can give on this is whatever they say and whatever they tell you, make sure it's written down on an official contract, and that they've signed it, that it's squared away and all the paperwork is done, and you read it very carefully, that they specify the MOS number, any sort of bonuses they might give you for whatever reason. All that sort of stuff needs to be written down on official paperwork so that you can get it. Because them just saying that they're gonna, like, oh yeah, I'll give you, you'll get $20,000 when you join, or something stupid. They can tell you anything they want, but if it's not written down, then you don't get shit. So I mean, if anything, bring a Marine that you know and that you trust to be there to help you out. Bring your parents, just someone that you know that'll catch the small stuff that they might try to slip by you. But yeah, all right. The next one is PFT in boot camp and IST. You'll do the IST like initially when you first get there, and that's just to kind of gauge where you're at. But afterwards, you'll do the PFT. I want to say twice. You'll do it after about a month of being there, I think. You have about a month of working out, and so then they'll get your initial PFT. And then you'll do it again towards the very end of boot camp, and that'll be your final PFT, and that'll be the one that determines if you've done well enough to graduate. And you should. I mean, after 3 months of working out and being on their eating, program that they have you on, you'll pass it just fine. It's the PFT is 3 miles to get. So it's 3 mile run, 100 crunches, and what was it? Pull-ups. To get full 300 points. So each exercise is 100 points. You have to get them to get 100 on the run. You have to run the 3 miles in less than 18 minutes. So 17:59 gets you 3 mile, or gets you 100 points rather. 20 pull-ups, and then 100 crunches. The 20 pull-ups is just, there's no time limit on it. It's just if you can do it, but you can't like do all these weird things like bump you up. They call them, one of them like kipping, where you like squirm your legs all weird to push yourself up. Can't do that. Can't do. I mean, the drill instructors will be on you about it too. So if they don't think one counts, they won't count it. Crunches, you have, I think it's a minute, or no, maybe it's 2 minutes to do 100 crunches. It's really easy. I never got 300 because running is just not my freaking strong point, at least running quickly. I think my fastest 3 miles was 19 minutes, maybe 19:10, something like that. So I had like 290s, pretty decent score, but could never get to 300. If I really, really wanted to, I'm sure I could, but I just hate running, so I've never wanted to. And there's a new thing they do, blank on the name of it, where you gotta like carry like cans filled with sand that simulate ammo cans, with rounds in them, and you gotta like throw a fake grenade and all sorts of weird shit. And I'm not sure if they do that in boot camp, but it is part of your deal. So you'll do the PFT and then that when you're in the fleet. So that I don't really have full knowledge on, but I'm sure you'll find out when you get to boot camp. And the last thing for this video is when you guys asked about the GI Bill, and that's a very good question, actually, because a lot of people want to know. They don't know the ins and outs of it, and I'm sure that there's some stuff I don't know about it, but I do know the general basics of it, and so I'll tell you guys what I do know. So the GI Bill is, you can get it as either active or reservist, but as reservist there's a lot of weird strings to it. From what I understand, you have to do a certain amount of like drills with them to be able to get it, and you might not even get the full benefits because you're a reservist. I don't remember exactly how that works because I never had to deal with it, but in terms of the full time, you'll do your 4 years, and as long as you get out honorably, then you're still eligible for it. Or if you get hurt and you get medically discharged, but it's, you're still in good standing with the Marine Corps, then, or the military in general, then you're still eligible for it. And what it is you go, to a college near you, wherever you live, and you go and you talk to the VA representative there, and then it varies based on school. My school has it where you have to fill out a sheet, like you pick a program that you want to go with, and then they make you stick to that, so you can't just take random classes that don't apply to your degree, but they'll have you mine has me fill out a sheet that I have to get signed by my teachers to prove that I'm showing up to class and shit. But what it is based off full time for your school, which for me is 12 credits. You get paid a certain amount, and that's dependent on the zip code that your school is in, not where you live, where the school is located. So, like for me, I want to say if you go full time, if you go full 12 or more credits at my school, you get paid equivalent to what an E5 makes, so the Marine Corps sergeant with dependents. And I want to say it's 2 dependents, but I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's just called dependents. And for me, it's like $1,400 that goes towards like helping me with housing and whatever else. There's really no stipulation on what you do with the money, but it's supposed to help you get by and help so that you don't necessarily have to work so much, so you can get that money and put it towards bills and everything else. That's also dependent on how many days in a month that the school is actually in attendance. And it's not how many days your classes were actually held. So, for example, if you take 3 classes and you were able to get all 3 classes in 2 days of the week, so let's say Monday and Tuesday you have all 3 classes, just the whole day. There's still 3 days of the week that you're technically not in school, but they count as the days that the school is in session. So if school is good the whole entire month of March, and it's in session, and you'll get paid for the full 30 or 31 days, whatever it is, which equals out to the $1,400, in my case. But if, say, your new semester starts March 15th, and then continues on, for however long, you'll only get paid for half the month, which is, in my case, would be about $700. And then the next month, if it's going for the full month, then you get paid the 14, so on and so forth. They prorate it down based off, like I said, the amount of days and then the amount of credits. So if you take, say, 10 credits instead of 12 at my school, you'll, get paid a percentage less. So $1,100 or $1,200, whatever it equals out to, you'll get paid. And for me, they just send a check at the end of the month, and I get it and I cash it and spend on whatever. And I'm pretty sure this applies to all schools, but you really only need to take 1 class or 1 credit at the school, and the rest can be online. So, and that might change. I mean, especially if you guys are just joining now and you're going to have at least 4 years until you would use the GI Bill. Things might change. So make sure you definitely talk to the VA guys at your school to get the full knowledge of what what is and what isn't acceptable. But it's pretty nice. Right now I'm taking 2 classes because my freaking classes are only available certain times of the year. But you have to kind of bounce all over the place. You have to take a certain amount of credits. So you can't just take a 2-credit class and expect to get paid. Like for me, I think we have to take at least 8 credits to be able to get any money. Like they'll still pay for the schooling. Like they'll pay for your classes outright. Whatever the fee is, they'll pay for it, and then you get the check on top of that. They call for BAH, Basic Allowance for Housing. But you need to take at least 8 credits at my school to get any sort of the housing money. And so make sure you're aware of that when you try to do this. That's really it. I mean, for me, I'm only taking, like I said, 2 classes. One's online and one's in school for 2 days a week. Next semester that's changing, but for this semester that's the case. And so it's really nice. It allows me to work, still get decent amount of sleep. I mean, working graveyard doesn't allow me to sleep very much, really, but decent, all things considered. And yeah, and just so you guys know, right now, because of the sequester, because Congress and President, whoever else, weren't able to figure out a way to cut some money because they're special, the Marine Corps, currently it's only the Marine Corps, is no longer getting tuition assistance. And tuition assistance is different from the GI Bill in that it's for active duty guys only. So if for whatever reason your MOS allowed you to have time to go to school, you no longer will get tuition assistance to help pay for that. Which sucks and it's terrible, and for whatever reason it's only the Marine Corps. But I mean, what can you do? But that's just so you guys know. And I'm sure your NCOs, when you get in, will make sure that you know that if you bring up going to school and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to try to put out more videos. It's tough, I mean, with school and everything else. Always busy. But I will put out videos as often as I can. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. That way I can do what I can to answer your questions and get you the information that you're seeking. Alright guys, appreciate you watching. See you next time. Semper Fi.